And welcome, Hoosier Nation, to our fourth episode of a new show called the Hoosier Sound. I am your host, Noah Freeman, and I am delighted to present you with this brand new podcast. I am here with Matt Lukens, Noah Skibby, and we're here to give you the scoop of some IU sports. We are an IU-centered podcast that focuses on IU sports such as basketball, football, and more from the point of view as a student or young adult. To end each show, we will also give our view of hot takes from around the world of sports. We'll be going live every Tuesday evening, but if you miss us live, you can subscribe to various networks so you can listen on your own time. We are now on iTunes or Apple Podcast, Google Play, Stitcher, and our live stream will be posted on our YouTube page after each recording. All you have to do is search for the Hoosier Sound wherever you listen to podcasts and just hit subscribe, that little button right in the right corner. The videos will then pop up for you when they are published. It's really simple, really easy, and it would mean a lot to us if you guys just hit that subscribe button for us. We just published a special segment episode about the recent NCAA scandal. You can find that on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and YouTube. Make sure to subscribe so you can listen to that special episode. Social media is also big for us. We post updates for you guys on Facebook and Twitter. Make sure you give us a like and a follow, as well as subscribe in our YouTube account. All the information is in the description below. Lastly, you can also check out our website, thehoosiersound.wordpress.com, to find out all of our information in one place. All right, it's time for some sports talk. This past weekend, the Hoosiers lost to Penn State in Happy Valley 45-14. Skibby, start us off with your first impressions from the game.
All right, so I texted you this earlier in the week when I watched the game. I said if there was ever a good blowout loss, I think this would be the closest thing to it. I mean, the one thing that just take away is that the mental errors killed us, and they're going to continue to kill us if they keep happening. I mean, the schedule isn't going to just get easy all of a sudden. I mean, we do have an easier game this coming week, but we're going to play against Big Ten teams from here on out. So those teams are going to feast off of fumbles, bad kickoffs. It's all going to go downhill really fast if they can't fix some of those turnovers and things like that. But I will say this, though. The defense played great in the first half and a little bit in the second half. If it wasn't for them at halftime, it wouldn't have been as close of a game. It wouldn't have been interesting. So, but it got to the point in the fourth quarter where Penn State was basically having their way. Saquon Barkley threw a touchdown pass. They could do anything that they wanted. So I think going forward, if they're not getting burned in the first half, if they're not having to put up that much effort, come fourth quarter time, they're going to be able to do what Allen wants them to do, which is break through. That's his whole motto. And I think it was a good game. I didn't really expect us to win, but I liked the effort for the majority of the game that we put forward.
Yeah, that Saquon Barkley throwing touchdown was actually a jump pass, which is really hard to do. So it was just kind of like, really? You couldn't just throw it regularly? You had to do a jump pass? Like, come on.
You're going to rub it in against Indiana,
yeah,
I guess.
Right. Apparently. Something like the Heisman Trophy or something he's up for.
Yeah, but I would have to agree with Skibby with a lot of his comments. The score does not show the full story of the game. Skibby mentioned a lot of mental mistakes, and that was really what killed us. It's starting out with the opening kickoff for a touchdown that can't happen right off the bat. Then going right back to fumbling and giving it to Penn State on a very, very short field. That goes up 14-0, and the offense really hasn't taken a snap. Then we have a muff punt for a TD, and that's 21-0. It's already 21-0, and really the offense or the defense hasn't done much. Skibby, you talked about special teams making a difference last week.
It made a difference.
Sadly, it was just a different way. And really, those first 21 points that Penn State had could have really been avoided, and it just changed the feel for the entire game. The Hoosiers had to play from behind right off the bat, and it just didn't bode well, especially totaling 3 fumbles, an interception, and 4 turnovers is not a way to beat Penn State. We talked about literally having to play almost a perfect game without those mental mistakes, and we had those mental mistakes. But some of those positives to take away from the game. If you take away those mental mistakes, we actually played them pretty well, and it was a lot closer than it seemed. For stats, we only had one less first down than they did, and our third down conversion rate was actually higher than theirs was. The total yards between both teams, Penn State only had 18 more total yards. So you can see the offense was actually keeping up with Penn State like we talked about. We ran for 177 yards and kept them to a total of 39 rushing yards. Again, we talked about Saquon Barkley, and we actually we minimized him as much as we could. It was just those turnovers and those mental mistakes, those tackles really didn't even give us a shot. But back to Saquon Barkley, he did what we thought he would did, scoring that opening 93-yard touchdown, 98 yards, whatever. But we did hold him to only 56 rushing yards and 51 receiving yards, which is the lowest that he's put up the entire season. There's no team that's actually this is the lowest that Saquon has put up for rushing and receiving yards. Obviously, if you take away that opening kickoff return, but the Hoosiers really did play well during a lot of those stretches. If we clean up the mental mistakes that shouldn't have been there, and they haven't really been there this season, then honestly, last Saturday could have been taken away as a positive going forward. We showed we could stop a key player for the most part, at least our offense and our defense did, and we limited their offense because you take away those 21 points, it's already a completely different story. And and our defense didn't give up that many touchdowns. Didn't seem like it was a good game, especially if you didn't get to watch it and you just saw the box score. But I do think there was a lot of positives that we could take away from it. Matt, what do you think?
Well, I have to reiterate the statement that was put out by both of you, which is that it was a good loss. I predicted that we were going to lose by a lot last week, and we did. Not in the ways that I expected. In my notes, I have in all caps, turnovers. God, why turnovers? Because that's what really killed us. Those two turnovers were just real bad in the first quarter. I'm sitting in a restaurant in the middle of Tennessee trying to watch the game, and I just screamed when we dropped the punt. I was just like, no, not like this. No. But, yeah, we couldn't have started any worse than having Barkley take the opening kickoff for a touchdown. And then after that, I thought we did honorably to keep the game from being overly ugly. I thought our defense was pretty good, but I felt like our offense wasn't giving our defense a chance until the second half. And then by that time, our defense was so tired that it didn't really make a difference. I have a stat here. We are 113th in the nation in time of possession. Yeah. I know we're a hurry-up offense, but at a certain point, our defense can't be on the field for 3/4 of a game, right? It's just not going to work out well. Yeah. So I think putting Ramsey in the game, and what happened in the second half was we put Ramsey in, and Ramsey gets those 3-yard QB sneaks that get us first downs and keeps our defense off the field. And I think that will be key in the weeks to come, especially against teams that maybe aren't as good offensively as Penn State are, a la Michigan, Wisconsin, and the rest of the bunch that we play. I think getting this quarterback that can help us keep a time of possession and actually keep our defense off the field will dramatically improve our team and our performances. So
true that.
Yeah, and it also starts with how Ramsey was just named the starting quarterback for the game on Saturday. But speaking of this Saturday, next up, the Hoosiers have an unexpected game this Saturday at 3:30. It's during fall break for Indiana, but we're playing the Charleston Southern Buccaneers. I'll start us off with my first thoughts. Charleston Southern. There's not a lot on them. They're obviously not a very big school. They don't have a lot of tape on them. So we've gathered what we can, and we're just going to give you a quick rundown of some of the stuff we've seen. But Charleston Southern, they've won big and they lost big. The only really major team that they've played with Mississippi State, and they lost 49-0. But they also won the last two games 66-0 and 58-7. So they can score if they get going, but they like to have a lot of mental blocks, and that can happen, and it sometimes goes against them. But they can also have things click for them. So they've got positives, they've got ups, and they've got downs. A lot of their schemes will come from when we played Georgia Southern, so they will probably expect a lot of running. They have a running back that's similar in physique to Saquon Barkley. He's small and he's muscular and big. He's 5'7", 215 pounds, but he's not that fast. And he's squatted 600 pounds, so he's really strong. So look to see a lot of running. They like to have, literally, they average 8 to 10 running backs a game. So look to see a lot of running. Especially, they also don't pass a lot. They've averaged less than 10 pass attempts per game. But like we just talked about with quarterbacks, I'm looking for Lego and Ramsey to have a game where they can play well, play off each other, and have a mistake-free game. I think they both need that. I like, honestly, having Ramsey start with the this game, because it'll give Lego a chance to come off the bench, and maybe he actually does really well. Sometimes coming off the bench, even if it's for not necessarily a bad reason, but coming off the bench, sometimes it gives you a different perspective, and sometimes you can come in and play a lot better than you would have. Matt, what do you think?
All right, so first I'm going to talk about the noise in the background. That's my roommate, Tom. We are recording this on, obviously, Tuesday night. And the Yankees are playing. Tom is a diehard Yankees fan, so he's very excited. Aaron Judge just hit a home run. I think he just broke my apartment. Anyways, this game, yeah, I had to get that out of the way. So this game has to be a cakewalk for us. Really, they're an FCS team. Like, if it's not a cakewalk, you're going to find me passed out somewhere, not happy. But this team never throws the ball, right? Like, you just talked about that, Noah. Like, will they have 4 pass attempts all year or something like that?
No, it's not that bad, but they average about 7 to 8 pass attempts. They complete 3 or 4 each game.
Yeah, okay, so they don't pass the ball at all.
Literally.
Yeah, they literally don't. So I think we'll be fine stacking the box against them and maybe leaving 1 guy or 2 guys back to cover. But, yeah, I mean, what I'm really excited about this game, though, is, well, first, I'm not excited, but I'm hoping no injuries. Like, this is an easy game. We shouldn't be playing our starters for very long. I see us, being out of the they might come back zone by the second quarter, just putting up 21 points or whatever, and then taking most of our starters out, because I don't want that. But I want to see some more players, maybe our backup quarterbacks getting some playing time with some new people, and just working people in position on our offense, and seeing if we don't maybe have somebody who maybe during game time might be a standout performer, and then we can incorporate them into our offense, or maybe getting people back from injury. I'm looking at a bunch of other people on our defense, getting them back from injury, working them in, maybe a couple plays, and then being ready for the next game. So that's what I'm really looking forward to on this game.
What about you, Skibby? Yeah, very similar stuff. But I mean, I think this should be. I don't know if I'd be as reactionary as Matt would be, but this should be an easy win for IU. I mean, again, we talked about it a few weeks ago, but like credit to Fred Glass for being able to schedule a game as fast as he did and a makeup game against an FCS team that probably a lot of other canceled game teams wanted to play. So credit to that. So I'm pretty excited that the game's happening. I like to watch when the Hoosiers win. So, I think ESPN has us with a 95% win probability. So not to say that that CSU can't win, but chances are I think I'll get to watch a win. So that's exciting. But I think, as we talked about, we did a great job with run defense, specifically against Saquon Barkley. So in a situation where they have a Barkley-esque running back at an FCS level, I think that really bodes well for us. We played well with a run-first team 2 weeks ago against Georgia Southern, and we blew them out. So I don't see why that's not going to be any different. I think one key that they should be looking for on defense is to continue trying to get turnovers, stripping the ball. This should be kind of like a practice thing. Once you get two guys there, have a third guy in, start punching at the ball. And we'll see if we can get some turnovers that way. That'll be exciting. And as we've alluded to, with Peyton Ramsey as a starter, I think we're going to see a lot more fireworks from the offense, something that we haven't seen a lot this year. Just Lego, it hasn't clicked yet. And I think that's part of the reason that, as Matt alluded to earlier, that the time of possession is so low, is that Lego will throw 3 straight incompletions and then our drive stalls after 10 seconds. So with Ramsey, out there, he's able to extend drives, and against a lesser opponent, who knows what he can do. I expect him to put up some big numbers this week, and I expect to win very similar, if not more resounding than what we did against the Eagles of Georgia Southern a few weeks ago. So this is a week I'm excited for. Hopefully we can bounce back after a win, and this might get us going towards our homecoming day with Michigan. I don't know if we'll win, but hopefully this gives us some momentum heading into that game.
Yeah, all very good points. It'll be an interesting game this Saturday, especially being fall break like I talked about before. So none of us are actually really sure what to expect with the students and just the crowd in general, especially just being a game. But it'll be what it is. We'll get you a recap next week if you don't end up being able to watch it. But next on the list, speaking of the Yankees, it's playoff time in October. So we're going to give you a rundown to start to talk about the MLB playoffs, since literally the first game just tipped off a couple hours ago. So we're going to go game by game and give our predictions on who we think is going to win, why, and we're going to start with the NLCS. So we'll just start with those two teams who we think are going to win between the Nationals and the Cubs, and the Dodgers versus the Diamondbacks and or Rockies, pending the results of the wild card game tomorrow. But Matt, who are your two NLCS teams?
All right, I'm going to preface this with I am a big Cubs fan.
Go Cubbies.
So, yeah, go Cubs, go. So, obviously, I have to pick the Cubs to beat the Nationals in that series. I think they'll move on from their regular season pitching woes, and I think postseason, maybe a little colder weather, getting into our pitchers' brains, especially Lester and Arrieta when he comes back, will re-energize them, and I think they'll start pitching a lot better than they have been. And our bullpen is questionable, but as long as we get a couple good innings out of Carl Edwards Jr., get us to our closer, I think we'll be fine. I'm not worried about our offense at all. So Cubs, first team, second team, and the NLCS is I got to go with the wild card team. I'm going to go with the Diamondbacks just because I don't see anybody on the Dodgers pitching staff right now that is going to be able – there's only one pitcher in the entire league that's going to be able to stop JD Martinez, and he's in the AL pitching for the Indians. So he's on fire right now. Greinke, obviously, and Goldschmidt, and the manager of the year for the NL, and Tori Lovulu. Sorry if I ruined that name, but that's what it looks like, it sounds like. But I think they'll get them through, and I think the NLCS will be Diamondbacks, Cubs.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the same exact NLCS. I will also preface I am a Cubs fan, but I tried to remove all bias when I was talking about this because I think the Cubs National Series is going to be is going to be a very interesting series. And the reason that I put the Cubs up ahead of the Nationals, and I don't think it's going to be a 3 or 4 game series, I could see it going the distance, is just because over the past few years we haven't seen the Nationals show up when they get to the NLDS, and I mean part of that is just their team makeup. I mean, is Dusty Baker. Just everybody knows that he's the guy that still hasn't won a World Series, of this Hall of Fame manager who still hasn't won. So there's that, and then also just looking at the teams. I mean, Bryce Harper still just coming back from injury, and then it doesn't help the Nationals at all that Scherzer had to leave his last start for an injury, so he's not coming into the postseason 100%. And if that's your big, I mean, I know they have Strasburg, they have people like Gio Gonzalez, but your big gun, your Cy Young, is Max Scherzer, and if he's not coming in, if your number one guy isn't coming in fully healthy, then I don't know what's going to happen with their pitching staff. While the Cubs, I would say that their ERAs are deceiving since they have the best record in the NL since the All-Star break, the second best in baseball behind the Indians. So I think right now I'm riding the hot team, and I think their offense should be going. They've been clicking since September. They can't stop scoring runs.
I'm not worried about offense.
Yeah, that's just why I'm not worried about that. And then when it comes to the Diamondbacks, the Dodgers may have the best record in the NL, but they're one of the coldest teams in baseball, and they benefited from the super fast start that they got on in the first half. I mean, Clayton Kershaw is known to kind of sink in October, and then partially in this past month, over the past few months, the Diamondbacks have just been able to get to everybody on the Dodgers staff. The Dodgers can't do anything to beat the Diamondbacks. So that's why I just think that the Diamondbacks will get there. That's if they win the wild card game. I mean, anything can really happen. The Twins and the Yankees have been going back and forth tonight. So, I mean, who knows? I mean, these underdog teams, the Rockies might get there, but I really think it'll be Cubs, D-backs in the NLCS.
Unlike our previous two people, I actually have a different result in both games. I am also not a Cubs fan like Skibby and Matt. So I think it's going to be the Dodgers Nationals, so completely different.
Yes.
We'll start with the Nationals. The Nationals, the DC curse of sports teams not even making it past the first or the second round. I think the Nationals they've been a team that has fallen out in October in recent years, but I don't think they are going to go away as easily as they might have recently. Skibby, you mentioned Scherzer going down, but it's not all completely out yet, but his injury is not nearly as bad as they thought it was. He might even be coming at the beginning of the series anyway. So he had an injury, but it's not going to slow him down whatsoever. Plus, Strasburg is pitching lights out. He's incredible. The Nationals pitching is just incredible. It's unlike most of the rest of the MLB. Plus, also, the Nationals also have not been in a very good division, and they won their division by over 20 games. So even if you want to talk about hot teams coming out recently, the Nationals haven't necessarily even had to win the past month, to be honest. But even to both of your points, talking about riding the hot team, I don't remember specifically where, but I was looking at statistics that actually coming into it in September, your how hot or how cold you are coming in September has almost literally nothing to do with how you perform in October. So riding hot teams or cold teams, that will have honestly no effect, which means I'm going with the Nationals and the Dodgers as well. Yeah, the Dodgers have they've been cold is a very is an understatement with how they've been playing recently. But it was a month and 2 months ago. It was the year of the Dodgers. The Dodgers were usually, again, the Dodgers are always a playoff team, but I think this year they're just a different caliber. Clayton Kershaw, obviously, I think he might do a little better than his October slumps. So I'm gonna have to go with the Nationals and the Dodgers. Just playing multiple game series, I don't think they are either of them are going to go away. But let's move over to the ALCS. Matt, who are your ALCS teams?
All right. Mine's going to be very obvious, and I feel like we're all going to have the same answer.
Probably.
But the ALCS is going to be the Indians and the Astros.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Indians going to obviously sweep what's looking like the Yankees right now. They're the best team in baseball right now. And the Astros versus the Red Sox. Now, it's really 50-50 almost, especially with now that the Red Sox have their own weapon out of the bullpen, because now they have David Price in the bullpen, which is interesting. When he was in Tampa, when he was in the bullpen, he was amazing. And that's when they went to the World Series against the Phillies, and they lost. But that was the last time Price was in the bullpen, so I'm really excited to see how he does. But I still don't think it's enough. I think the Astros have the best offense in the league. Just everybody in their lineup can hit. And especially in the AL ballparks, especially since it's going from a big ballpark in Houston to a very small ballpark in Boston, it's going to be weird for the Red Sox pitchers to go from their usual small stadium to a bigger stadium. And I see the Astros beating the Red Sox, but it's going to be close. I think it'll be a 7-game series.
Yeah, I have the same ALCS. I think that there's two. I mean, all the teams in the AL are good in their own right, but I think there's two teams that are just a class above the rest, and it's the Astros and the Indians. I mean, you can throw out whatever website you saw, Noah, but I will keep writing my hot teams. I believe that hot teams are played by hot players, and coming into October, that makes the difference. And so that's why I think the Indians right now I think they're overall the best team in baseball. I think the Astros might just be the second best team in baseball, which is why I think a Red Sox team in which they're starting pitching down the stretch, they are given. I mean, they could win a few games, but that last series against Toronto did not look good. Chris Sale has had a few rough starts over the past few ones. So I like the Astros coming out of that just because of the offense. And then you got Keuchel, you got Verlander, who's been to the World Series before. So I just like their experience and their just skill. And then the Indians, like I said, just they're hot, and I think they're going to end up playing the Yankees. And I think the Yankees just aren't quite there yet. Great team, but I just don't think they are World Series material quite yet.
Give them a year.
Yeah.
I'll speak for Tom. Give them a year.
No, Tom needs to be quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with the same two teams. I don't think there's honestly any debate between the AL, because just the Indians and the Astros, if you look at the record compared to even just the entire rest of the league, it's just very, very different. Like we talked about, the Indians are extremely red hot right now. They're 33-4 in their last 37 games, and I don't see that necessarily going away. I don't think that there's anything that would lead us to believe that they're just going to decline like crazy. And they're also such a good team that even if they decline a little bit from that win streak that they had, being 33-4 in their last 37 games, that's also good enough, at least right now, to get to the ALCS. Now, getting to the World Series, I think they will have to still stay hot. But right now, we're talking about just getting there. I think it's going to be almost a piece of cake for the Indians. And the Astros, you would think they're somewhat of a dark horse, and hear me out, just because most people don't necessarily, if you're not following the MLB like extremely, extremely close, you don't know how good the Astros are. You might not necessarily know that they're one of only 3 teams that got to 100 wins.
Yeah.
And having the second best record only by 1 game is incredible. They're such a young team, and we're all talking about this year, but I think if they don't win the World Series this year, they are the team to beat within the next 3-4 years, just because they've got young players and they're getting experience in these playoff games, and I think they're going to be the team to beat in the foreseeable future. But This is not a team that I think will win, but I have to give a shout out to the Twins. They are the first team in MLB history to lose 100 games the year before and then make it to the playoffs the next year. So they lost over 100 games last year, and they made it to the playoffs this year, which is really – and it's the first time that's ever happened in MLB history. So we'll see about 30 minutes to an hour to see if they can pull off a win. But let's get to what we've all been waiting for, the World Series. Matt, who are your two teams in the World Series, and who is your winner? And give us how many games.
Oh,
yeah. All right, I got you guys. So my World Series prediction coming out of the NL is my dark horse team. I'm going to pick the Diamondbacks. They haven't even won the wild card game yet, and I have them winning. I have them going to the World Series.
One bad night.
Easily the most easy to eliminate.
Right, exactly. So I have the Diamondbacks making it to the World Series. Look, I love my Cubs, right? But I gotta ride the Diamondbacks and just their individual stars. And I'm not confident in the Cubs pitching and their bullpen. And I think the Nationals will choke, as they always do, but I don't think the Diamondbacks have the choking gene in them. And Greinke's way too good of a starting pitcher for him to – I don't even think he loses a game, honestly, in the playoffs. Or he might in the World Series, but I'll get to that. So I got Diamondbacks winning the NL. And then the AL, I have the Astros in an upset over the Indians. Though, can you really call them an upset if they're only one game worse of record? But I got the Astros. They kind of remind me of the Cubs last year. They got good starting pitching coming in with Verlander. So now they have two solid starters, especially Verlander, who has a ton of postseason experience. And you have Carlos Beltran on that roster who, whether it was the Yankees, wherever he was at, the Rangers, he also has a lot of playoff experience. And I think with a bunch of young studs and a couple very seasoned veterans, I think they'll edge out the Indians in a 7-game series again. Brings me to my World Series, and I'm picking the Astros in 5 games. It's not even going to be close. They're the best lineup in the league. And I think Keuchel will get into a groove, and Verlander will be pitching lights out, and I have them in 5 games. So that's my World Series prediction.
All right. Yeah, mine's going to be a little different. We go in opposite ways with our LCS. Maybe I'm just a little bit more of a Cubs fan than you are, Matt. But no, I think the intangibles of being the champs and having been there before gives the Cubs a little bit more of an advantage. And I think having a new guy like Quintana in there as well gives them a little bit of an edge. I like them in a very long series against the Diamondbacks. I think 7 to 6 games is justifiable. But then I think of the Indians Astros, I like the Indians still. I just think I think their pitching is pretty good right now, even their lower level guys. I would give the edge to the Astros, but I think the pitching in Cleveland is good enough, and they have firepower. There's everywhere. I mean, Bruce, Encarnacion, Kipnis, Lindor, everywhere. I mean, the ball will find their bats, and I think they can find the bats against those big guys. When it comes to the World Series, though, this is where I could be biased and say it's going to be a repeat of last year and it's going to be awesome. I'd like it to be, but in reality, I just think that this year's Indians match up far better than they did last year against the Cubs. Even though they're almost the exact same teams, I think they've just gotten better. And the Cubs, I don't know if they've gotten significantly better to where they beat the Indians. I think that Cleveland will win it this year. They end their drought, which would be kind of cool that the 2 longest MLB droughts would get ended 2 years in a row. I just like what the Indians have going, what they've been doing all year, how they just got hot at the exact right time. I think they can win it in 6 games, 5 games at a minimum. I don't think the Cubs would lose a game, wouldn't be able to win a game, but I don't think they get swept.
Yeah, mine was a little similar to Skibby. I'm going to start in the NL. I'm going to bet against the odds for at least recent years in playoffs. For the Nationals, I do think they actually get to the World Series. They've just been really consistent this year. They haven't had very many cold streaks. Even when Bryce Harper went out, they did not do as poorly as a lot of people thought they would. And I just think that DC sports curse, at least getting to the championship, not necessarily winning it yet, but I think that's going to go away. And I think they're going to keep playing consistently in October. And October is all about getting hot and playing consistent, and I think the Nationals are going to do that. Then on the other side, I don't see how you can go past the Indians. The Astros are incredible, but I don't think that the Indians' experience and their leadership and stuff is going to get them past a young Astros team. I also think it really does say a lot that last year's result really will play a factor this year. I think they're really hungry. I think they're mad from last year. They're hot as heck right now, and at the moment, I don't see a reason why they would necessarily slow down significantly anytime soon. And the Nationals are a great team, but I don't think, like Skibby was talking about, I don't think the Indians are going to let up until they finally get that win. So I'm going to say Cleveland in 6. I think the Nationals will put up a fight, but not too much of a fight. That about wraps it up for our 4th show of the Hoosier Sound. Thank you so much for joining us, and please feel free to add suggestions in the comment section or contact us through our website. A reminder to follow us on Twitter at the Hoosier Sound, like our Facebook page, as well as subscribe to us on YouTube. Subscribe on either Apple Podcast, Google Play, or Stitcher, and leave us a review. All the links are in the description below. Visit our website at thehoosiersound.wordpress.com to find out all of our information regarding our podcast, and stay tuned for updates through social media. We want to start doing segments by taking your questions as the audience, so be sure to comment, chat, or send us a message on what questions you have, and we'll be sure to answer them on the 2nd episode. Seriously, if you guys just send us a message, we'll answer it on the next show. We'll give you a little shout out, and we'll have a nice discussion on it. But next week, we'll be going back to our normal time live at 7:30. So if you'd like to tune in with us live, be sure to do that at 7:30. Otherwise, just subscribe to us on the other networks and listen to us later. But thank you for listening, Hoosier Nation, and we'll see you next time.